Hello, everyone. This is Lisa with Inspired Heart Intuitive, coming to you live again and in person. Tonight, and I'm coming to you from my laptop. I apologize for the quality of the video. Tonight, I may pull some cards if someone wants me to. I have no problem doing that. I'm gonna get some of the on the June readings as well. However, tonight, I want to talk a little bit about the empath's journey. Okay. I'm kind of I've titled this evening time together. Hi, sweetie. How are you? Um, Lolly is in the house. So I titled this evening Enlightenment for a few reasons. And because I think that there's going to be some different topics each night that I'll want to sit down and talk about. And again, if anyone wants cards pulled, I've got a couple of angel decks and that sort of thing too, so we can do that. But I want to talk about the empath's journey because that's I am. I'm empathic and intuitive. Um, I don't know all the different names for everything yet, but I'm also an energy healer. So it's an interesting in the gift of sight, right? So it's very interesting when we empaths really start embarking on the journey, right? So how do you know you're an empath? Uh, if you can walk into or walk in someone's presence and just automatically feel what's going on with them, like just automatically, you just feel their energy. Walk into a room and you feel the energy around you. And, when you're first learning to utilize your gift or when it first really appearing, it can be very overwhelming. You're probably empathic. If you just know how someone feels just by being in their presence or just by talking to them, you're probably an empath. Um, Empaths by nature, we're healers. We feel other people's pain. We feel their despair. We feel their hurt. We can feel everything about them, so that we can talk to them on a uh, deeper level and help them get through their issues. Right? Help them get through the pain. Help them walk through the storm to get to the other side into the sunlight. Help them get to the light. Help them heal. That's why we have that, or one of the reasons why we have that gift. The problem, though, becomes when the empath chooses to heal externally instead of healing internally. If you've ever felt like, oh my gosh, I can give everybody else advice quite easily, but man, I can't hear for myself. I used to say that I can't hear for myself. Um, or if it's so much easier to give everyone else advice, but then you go home and you're still hurting on the inside. You're in pain, right? Um, that's because it is easier for us to do that. So often we end up doing that because yes, it's easy, right? It's easier to go externally than it is to look inwards and be introspective and deal with our own stuff. Typically, empaths had usually very interesting childhoods. I myself, being completely transparent, I myself grew up with a narcissistic father, um, and I believe my mother is empathic. I know that she has some gifts, but she grew up in an abusive household, so my household was abusive. Um, it was ruled by fear. It was ruled by intimidation. You did not know from day to day what was going to please dad. Then, of course, what do? You become a people pleaser, right? You become a pleaser externally because you want to keep the peace. It was the only way I knew to keep the peace, being the eldest. So I carried this all the way through adulthood. And I would do the work, what I thought was doing the work. And it really, it's bit by bit. You get this healing within you, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, line upon line, precept upon precept, right? Brick upon brick. The foundation gets rebuilt. And then you start rebuilding the house, you start clearing, doing soul clearing and cleansing. And all this while, I'm able to see and hear and see what's going to happen to someone in the future, and able to. I operated in the church of faith healing, so the anointing and all of that, which in spiritualistic terms is energy, right? Um, Operated in that very strongly. I knew the minute I laid hands on someone that they were going to receive a healing because I had total faith in it. I understood that it was the energy flowing from God through me, out through me, and into this other person, that energy transference, right? The anointing transference. I understood all of that. And yet, my little girl still wasn't healed fully. She had been healed to a certain extent, by bit, but I had to take that step all along the way, each individual step. You begin peeling off the layers of the onion, right? You have to do that as an empath in order to be able to continue to heal externally. Because what's going to happen is you're going to give out, give out, give out, and you have no way of understanding how to replenish yourself. And you still go back to your bed, you still go back to your chair, you still go back to your house, exhausted and hurt and still in pain. And in order to soothe that pain, you find the next person to heal. And we over and over again until and unless we are ready to take accountability for our own crap and deal with it. So that journey for me probably started somewhere in my late 20s, early 30s. I would say right around 30, where I finally looked and said, oh my gosh, why do I keep making the same mistakes? So what does the typical empath do? We choose people that definitely are not good for toxic because they're broken, right? We choose the broken little birds. We choose the thick puppies. And we do that because we need that project on the outside. So again, remember, we don't want to look on the inside. So much easier to go. But then when the sick puppy gets well, or when the snake that's injured, there was a story that I will never forget. One of the Baptist ministers I sat underneath for years said from the pulpit, and it's probably a down south story. Sally, I'm sure you'll appreciate this. So the pastors tell the story every now and again about, this gentleman that found this rattlesnake out in his field, and he was injured, clearly injured. And he brought the rattlesnake home and that rattlesnake back to health. I mean, this rattlesnake was almost about to die, and he brought him back to life. And when that rattlesnake got good and well, he bit the crap out of that man. And as the man is taking his last dying breath, as the man's taking his last dying breath, he said, well, why did you bite me? I took you in, I nursed you back to health. You were near death. And the rattlesnake, you knew I was a snake from the moment you brought me in the house. So we know they're snakes. We know they're not good for us. We know that they're not right for us. And we know deep down inside they're going to hurt us once we get them all prettied up and get them where they're back on their feet. And yet we still continue to choose them. So that's part of the journey, right? But we do that, my loves, we do that because we don't want to heal what's within ourselves, because that's a dark place to be. to go deep within our own soul and see where we need healing. And I think part of us, we're almost afraid that we're not going to be able to get that healing. We can surely give it to everyone else, but how in the to ourselves? So during my 30s, once I realized that I had gone through a number of very bad relationships for me, and I started to look internally and started to begin to get the healing that I needed in order to become a whole person. And it was painful. So again, we peel each layer of the onion, right? Peel back one layer at a time. And anybody that cooks knows you cut off the top of that onion, you start peeling back a little bit. What are you gonna do? You're gonna cry, right? It stings. It stings our eyes. It's the same thing. When one has to look inside himself to see where we're hurt, because this is the other thing we don't want to admit to ourselves. We choose, we choose hurt people. Subconsciously, perhaps, energetically, definitely. We attract hurt people. And we attract them because our magnet, since we're not here, that's exactly what we're going to bring back into our life. Unhealed, hurt human beings, hurt spirits. That's what we're going to attract. That's what we're going to bring in because our polarization is off, right? That's what it is. So we don't want to recognize that either. We don't want to admit to that. Possibly be at fault or to need to take some accountability in and of ourselves. So we peel each layer of that onion. And for me, the first layer was releasing that hurt and shame of feeling unloved by my own father, or having a definition of love that was achievement based. As long as I got A, as long as I was the best on the track team, the best in the cross country team, as long as I was doing all these wonderful things, daddy was happy, right? I thought love was based on my achievements. I thought that my intellect was the only thing that could attract a person. Didn't feel loved, didn't feel beautiful. So I'd start healing those daddy issues first, and layer by layer by layer by layer, right? So then the daddy issues come so you start crying and under that the true source of your love and validation comes from above, comes from all around us, comes from the universe, comes from spirit, God, whatever you want. Whatever you want to call him, however he or she has revealed themselves to you, that is, I'm not going to get hung up on words or titles because the universe doesn't, love doesn't. So I had to give that up first. So I gave that up first, got rid of that. And then we go along ways, and then I have to take accountability for my being, somewhat intimidating on purpose. The roar all the time, right? Well, what was the purpose of that? Was that so you couldn't get that close to me? Because if I kept you out here, I could feel you. I knew what was going on with you, but it was going on with you. You couldn't get close enough to me to see what was going on inside of me. Heaven forbid you ever know something's going on inside of me. So we need to peel that one back. And the next one, and the next one. And that's a huge part of our journey as empaths. All the while, though, again, what we're doing energetically, until we get healed, what's happening is that our little force field bubble, we can't set proper spiritual boundaries. And hopefully, Lolly, we're going to be able to talk about this together very soon. We can't set proper spiritual boundaries. So anybody and everybody can just come on in. They can just attach right on us because we're unable to put this boundary out and operate. We think that we have to give everything ourselves because we're not fully healed here. So we keep trying to feed that good feeling, feed that I'm doing my purpose. I'm walking in light, I'm walking and then doing and doing. But we're not sitting and grounding and healing and being. We're too busy doing to be a human in this experience and learn the lessons and go through the karmatic experience, clearing out the karma that we're supposed to. We can't do that because we're too busy giving out. And if you're too busy giving out and your forward is kind of off, then anybody can latch on to you and they don't let go because now you've become their life. And secretly you love that. Well, openly you love it, and secretly you're just, I can't do this anymore. I'm depleted. And while we're in an unhealed empathic state, that's what happens. There are no boundaries. Just in your interactions with human beings, if you don't set proper boundaries for your mama and your daddy and your brothers and your sisters, your kids, your friends, if you don't set boundaries, everybody's all in your business. They're all up in it, right? We give and don't receive. You do throw that universal balance off. That universal balance is meant to be within us, as well, right? And if empaths are out of balance, uh, our sphere of influence is out of balance, and eventually, yes, and then the entire universe is out of it all out of whack. So, but we can't defend ourselves against different attacks, if you will. And then that's when you walk in a room and you feel everybody's energy. And you don't know what the heck to do with all that, right? It's just overwhelming. I have friends that they feel it so much they can't go to a crowded restaurant because then the anxiety starts and they're just because they're feeling everything and they can't. It's kind of like being ADD. It is. It's being energetically ADD. You don't know which input takes priority over the other. So we need to talk about that, Miss Lolly. Because see, now I go anywhere it doesn't even matter. Because I choose to turn it off. And I only turn it on, or the only input that comes into me is priority and necessary for that moment. So only the person I'm supposed to speak to or I'm supposed to interact is allowed in. And that's just the way it operates now. I no longer feel this energy. So, and I'm almost at 20 minutes. I only want to talk 20 minutes today because I think this is going to be something that I'm going to talk about maybe once or twice a week. So the first part of the empath journey, right? This awakening to the fact that you can feel and know everybody's energy. Understand, the main part of this that I want to get across today is A, you're not alone. B, all of us empaths have had to go journey together. And C, there is a moment, there is a way for you to be completely healed to a point. Like, of course, all of us have, we all have different levels, but to get to that root where you can put your energy field out, your boundary out on the outside, keep a boundary in, internally and let love out and only let that in, that which you really need to pay attention to, the prioritization. Love and light, sis. Okay, so the next time we get together, I'm going to turn this off because I've got to get the readings done. The next time we get together, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what does this feel like? What does this, how did you opt in this a little bit more? But I'm going to try to get some visuals so that I can show you what I'm talking about as far as this boundary is concerned, because this is a step-by-step process. And so I'm going to do some meditation and see where to go next. We need to go for a healing process. Okay. Okay, my loves. I'm going to be off. I'm going to go on and do what I got to do here and take care of my baby. I got to do some monthly readings, get that started because June's tomorrow. Like, oh my gosh, who knew? So, in the meantime, in between time, my friends, all right, take some time every morning. Just sit with you quietly and meditate and open yourself up and listen to the voice. Let love shine all through you, overtake you, come through you, and root and ground you. Practice that every day. That's the beginning to the pathway, okay, to that inner healing that we all seek and love and want and desire. That's the beginning of it. So I want you to do that until we start talking more about the empathic, intuitive, clairvoyant, clairaudient, all those things. We'll talk about all that, but I really want to get this centered, right? And get this centered and rooted in. So, uh, those of you that see this later on, thank you for watching. Very much appreciate it. Get with me in the morning. I'm going to be on in the morning and do live coffee, convo, and cards, and look for those monthly readings coming up. Until then, love and light, peace and blessings. Have a good one. Good night, everyone.